Before we tackle stress management, let's understand what we're dealing with. I would define stress as the harmful physical and emotional responses that we experience when what our work demands from us is more than we have to give. Or put more simply, it's an imbalance. Think about that feeling you get when your inbox is overflowing, the deadlines are looming, and you don't have the right team around you to turn to for support. It's really important to differentiate between stress, unpleasant but manageable, and burnout, which is often completely overwhelming. If your stress has tipped over into burnout, the tips I'm about to share will still help, but you might want to check out my other video covering burnout too. So what can you do right now to reduce your stress at work? When I'm working with clients who are stressed, which is often, I usually begin by talking to them about recovery. Recovery is when we can reduce symptoms of work stress, anxiety, exhaustion, elevated levels of cortisol back to normal levels. And recovery is a skill, because knowing how and when you can best recover from stress requires knowledge of what works for you and practice actually doing it. Very high intensity jobs, like pilots for example, or professional athletes, actually have periods of recovery pre-baked into their work schedules. You might be under similar or greater levels of stress, but you just expect yourself, or you are expected, to continue on without recovery breaks. And the body and the mind just can't operate at that level indefinitely. It's worth being aware that there's a real paradox around recovery. Research shows that when we need to recover the most, when we're most stressed, we're the least likely and able to do something about it. And this can quickly turn into a vicious cycle of working longer, taking less breaks, eating less healthily, all of which in turn exacerbates our stress. If we work in a culture in which long hours and working under extreme pressure are celebrated, then the cycle can be even more extreme. To overcome the paradox, it's important to know your recovery plan in advance and be aware of what stress looks and feels like to you so you can implement it. You need to learn what works best for you and devise a recovery plan. And it's important to note that what actually works for stress recovery is not always as intuitive as you might think. These are the top ways I encourage my clients to do just that. First, find a way to mentally switch off from work in the evening or the weekend, something that completely absorbs your mind so you have periods where you don't think about deadlines or your to-do list. Examples could be reading, a hobby, or your preferred exercise. Mental recovery is just as important as physical. Next, let's talk about time management. Taking regular mini breaks throughout the workday, even 10 minutes, has been shown to be just as crucial in managing stress as longer ones like holidays. If you can distract your mind, read, exercise, even have a non-work related chat, that's really energizing. For both micro and longer breaks like holidays, it might seem intuitive that you should prioritize relaxing activities. But actually, science tells us the quickest recovery often comes from the most absorbing things, like a sport or a really intense hobby. So if you have the choice between meditation and a kickboxing class, for example, I would go for the kickboxing. Another really key aspect of stress management is building supportive relationships at work. We know that social support plays a huge role in buffering the effects of stress and in aiding your recovery. Finally, exposure to nature is proven to promote stress recovery. This could even just be sitting near a window or using some of your breaks to get outside. Research shows that even images of nature, so having nature on your screensaver, for example, are shown to promote recovery from stress. From all of this, you can see that the advantages of creating and implementing a really deliberate recovery plan are clear. You'll have more energy, better mood, motivation, cognitive and physical performance, as well as just feel overall more satisfied with your life. Your stress will be reduced. Despite the challenge of engaging in recovery activities when they're most needed, having a clear plan and staying on top of stress using these strategies we've explored will work for you. If you're looking for impactful executive coaching, get in touch with our team at Phanella Associates.